She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand, hold up on she frack. I wanna she grandson to the market. Them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For Cockacrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockacrow, dagaba, donkey bray, horse and they even duck a quack. Cockacrow, dagaba, donkey bray, horse and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a pack now, me now a come home. Inaga jackass yard to fetch the load. Buckle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side, a Rexy and Rover. From the farm, them a come. So now go down, but up the river. So
I'm sitting here listening to the song, and I realize that we have gone over 1 minute listening to this song, watching, and just as the part when it said Sona Godong, Sona Godong. Look at that lady doing the laundry there. That was the washing machine back in the days, and the little kids swimming. And it reminds me of my days as a little boy up in Linden, and up that Boredom Drive, the riverfront. I don't know. It's doing something to me to bring back all these memories. Good night to you, President Granger. How are you, sir?
Well, good night. Always happy to be on this program. Keeping in touch with real people, the ordinary Guyanese, and of course the moments of nostalgia. Whenever I hear that theme song that you have chosen to introduce this program, I just think of my own days back in Bartica. Water is always there, and on the quarantine. So it's good to be back in the program. I'm very happy to be sharing this Anansi Web Education with you. And I think this topic this evening will be very important to all Guyanese, because we not only think about the past, we think about the future. And unless Guyanese could understand what we're going to talk about this evening, I think that we wouldn't enjoy those happy days that we saw in the introduction to this program. So I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you back indeed, and good night to all of our listeners, wherever you are, whether you're in Guyana, outside of Guyana, it doesn't matter, but good night. And thank you all so much for sharing the link as well. Before we get into today's program, we're dealing with elections and serious questions here as it pertains to the elections. Every elections, we got some good news for you. Well, eye-opening stuff for those of you who may not have known. Tonight is the night. But before we get to that, you have been doing some things there in Guyana, President Granger. You have been doing some stuff. I saw on social media there was a photograph circulating with you doing some shopping. And this is what it says here on this page here. Well, look who my daughter reached in the supermarket today. Her favorite president. What's that? Doing some shopping there?
Yes, well, I do shop on the East Bank here where I live, and that's why I know the price of food. That's why I know how difficult it is for ordinary people to fill that market basket and go home. You have a house with 5 children. Being in touch with these situations and with these people helped me to understand why teachers have to go on strike, helped me to understand why public servants have to go on strike, helped me to understand why nurses have to go on strike, because the women of our country have to go in the supermarket and face these prices every day. So I'm not detached. I haven't gone away. I am in touch with the real situation. And I was very happy to meet this girl. I never met her before, but it shows that people still have hope that sometime soon we'll return to the days when the government cares about them, not just giving out a black bag or not just, giving out some cash grant, but really bringing about real change in their lives. So I was happy to meet her. And as you see, I haven't removed myself from the real situation.
Thank you so much. And for this picture here, this young lady seemed to be very happy indeed. Happy to meet with her, according to her favorite president, David Otto Granger. As we get into tonight's program, we're dealing with the general and regional elections. Since the People's Progressive Party entered office in 1992, have been plagued by problems in the field and in the Elections Commission. The results, and folks, if you listen carefully to this here, the results of elections in 1997, in 2001, in 2006, in 2011, in 2015, and 2020 were challenged. The chairman of the Elections Commission and the chief election officer are central to the declaration of the results of elections. I wish to repeat this part. The chairman, yep, you guys can bring a chair closer and listen to this part so that there will be, hopefully after today, no misunderstanding as to what are the roles of these individuals. The chairman of the Elections Commission and the chief elections officer are central to the declaration of the results of elections. In other words, the chief elections officer has to make a declaration. And once that declaration is made, guess what? It has to go to the desk, on the desk of the chairman. And the chairman, he or she will decide whether they accept that declaration or not. And so let's get into our first question. And of course, on Anansi Web Education, we examine the topic. And tonight's topic, the Gocool effect in elections, with the aim of addressing the following questions. And we'll ask President Granger this first one. What has been the cause of the Gocool effect in general elections? And before you respond, of course, a background, Gocool, the chief elections officer prior to 2020, and then he's back now as the chief elections officer. He's back now in that position. And this is not specifically about an individual, it's just about the effect we're talking about. And so, Mr. Granger, what has been the cause of the Gocool effect in general elections?
Well, before I answer, I must thank you for that clarification, because Gocool is not the name of a person. Gocool is the name of a condition. And it's just as if you have cancer. Cancer is not the name of a person. Cancer is the name of a disease. The Gocool effect is the name of a disease. And I would say clearly that the cause has been panic on the part of the People's Progressive Party. It's something the PPP invented. Many people don't know about it because it never existed before. But when you examine the last 7 elections, you can see that there is an effect. There has been some virus in the election system. And the cause has been that since the death of the Jagans, or since the movement away from the political scene of the Jaggers, the PPP has been in a state of panic. The PPP had to invent some means of winning the elections without actually winning the elections. And this is what the effect is about. Many people don't realize that since the start of this century, the actual tally of the PPP started to fall. And this caused panic. In fact, under Mrs. Jagan, whatever you think of the 1997 election, those elections were badly flawed. And in fact, it went to the High Court and they were vitiated, invalidated, but that's another matter. But in those elections, GCOM awarded the PPP 220,000, roughly 220,000 votes in 1997. But by 2001, the votes fell from 220,000 to 210,000. So you see, things were moving in the wrong direction. In 2006, the PPP tally fell from 210,000 to 183,000. So there was real panic. The PPP had to find a way of reversing this trend. And then in 2011, the PPP tally fell to 166,000. So what was the PPP to do? The PPP resorted to fraud. Simply, it invented this Gocool effect. And every time the Gocool effect has been applied, it was applied in favor of the PPP in every election. And it meant that they had to find some administrative device to reverse or change the will of the people as expressed in the poll. And this is what the effect was about. It came about because of the falling popularity of the PPP during the Troubles. This is when it happened, during the Troubles. In the 2001 elections, it was clear that they had lost 20,000 votes, 10,000 votes. By 2006, again, the Troubles were still affecting people in this country, and the PPP lost more votes. And 2011, they lost more votes. So the PPP was in a state of panic, and that is my answer to your question. The entire, Gocool effect was caused by a collapse in the PPP tally after 1997. And they invented the Gocool effect in order to use administrative fraud to get a victory, to get a tally in the elections, which was in their favor. So that is what it was all about. That is what the Gocool effect meant.
I hope you guys heard that, the Gocool effect. The Gocool effect and how that has affected elections, almost all of the elections in Guyana. So it takes us to our second question. What did the Gocool effect have did the Gocool effect have its gravest and greatest impact?
Well, people became aware of it most at first in 2006. They were not aware, they knew that there was some malpractice in 1997. They knew there was malpractice in 1992 when people had been disenfranchised, persons turning up at one polling station to discover that the names were another polling station, persons whose names were on the official list of electors, a few days before. By the time they went to the election, they were not there anymore. So the effect was operating, but people thought that this was normal, maladministration, that, some clerks got things wrong. But by 2006, they realized that there was an insidious and a sinister plot to disenfranchise a large section of the population and actually make false declarations. Let me give you an idea. In 2006, which is probably the worst case, that is when the AFC actually got enough votes to claim a seat in electoral district number 10. And an attempt, well, not an attempt, a successful declaration was made, awarding that seat to the PPP. And the AFC complained about it and was assured. The AFC was assured that a correction would be made, but the declaration, a wrong declaration was made. And once that declaration was made, you have to go to the court. And once the AFC went to the court, the case was denied on technical grounds. That is the danger about running to the courts. So I would say that the effect had its gravest impact, and it was most visible in 2006 when in electoral district number 10, the Alliance for Change gained a majority, and it was mistakenly allocated, the seat was mistakenly allocated to the PPP Civic. But once that incorrect declaration was made, only it had to be dealt with only by an election petition, which went to the High Court. And once it went to the High Court, it was thrown out. So that is where you see the effect having its impact. And later on, they tried it. The effect was applied again. As I said, in 1997, 1992, 1997, and 2001, people were not aware that the effect was actually being applied, but they saw it clearly. Everyone knew that. In 2006, the Upper Demerara seat was awarded to the PPP. Well, one seat was awarded to the PPP, a regional seat, it was called, geographical seat, instead of to the Alliance for Change. So the danger of a false declaration, see, up to that time, even if the tally was incorrect, once the declaration is made, it becomes effective, and it could only be reversed through the courts. So the false declaration exposed the existence of the Gocool effect, and it was tried again in 2011. But this time, some commissioners were more alert. So what was attempted in 2006 did not work in 2011. And when they tried it, it was tried. When they tried it, commissioners prevented the declaration from being made. That is what happened. So the chairman of the Election Commission was important in allowing a declaration to be made. And this is what happened in 1997. And of course, there was some protests. And then this is what happened again in 2001. And again, there was some protests. But when it was tried in 2006, they went to the courts and the AFC lost. So this Gocool effect is very sinister. And for the AFC, it cost them a seat in 2006. So in answer to your question, it did have an effect in 2006, and to some extent it was attempted in 2011. But that's why I'm saying it is not the name of a person, it's the name of an effect. It's like a disease. Cancer is not the name of a person, it's a type of disease, and the Gocool effect is a type of disease that affected our electoral system. Since 1992, 1997, 2001, 2006, 2011.
A disease indeed. Reminds me of when I was growing up, there was a reggae singer singing something about Manja licked them with diseases. Well, this is the disease, the elections disease. The elections disease, the Gocool effect, takes us to the third question. Why was the Gocool effect allowed to prevail in previous elections?
I can only answer that question by saying that the inducements and the techniques used by the PPP were able to get people to behave in a certain way. There's always been a struggle to appoint a chairman of the Election Commission who could be vigilant and not laid back, who could be vigilant to pick up these abuses and anomalies. And that is why the criteria for the election or the selection of the chairman of the commission are so strict. And in my case, I stuck to the law and appointed somebody who was who had experience as a judge. And I think in some cases, some persons were appointed who were never judges. And the only two persons I ever nominated for the post were judges. So there's always been a battle as to who should be the chairman of the election commission. But I put my faith in the Constitution, and the Constitution, as far as I was able to interpret, felt that the person should have experience as a judge. Now, the question you ask is why the effect was allowed to prevail in previous elections. It was allowed to prevail because I think the general public was unaware that there was such contamination of the process. And you put faith in persons, but they felt that those persons were in full charge. But those persons were actually just reading bits of paper that were presented to them, and they had no way of going out in the field and checking them out. And that is why there were so many abuses and anomalies. And I would say that these matters were brought out in the 2020 elections more forcefully because persons who were dead, we were seeing ballots cast for those persons who were dead. We were seeing ballots cast for persons who were not present. We're seeing ballots cast for persons in one district when they belong to another district. We're seeing ballot boxes without any documents. We're seeing people who could not be properly identified. So there was a lot of malpractice out in the regional areas. When, maybe friends, families, political supporters were being regarded or recorded as bona fide voters when in fact they were not. So there is a large amount of abuses, a large amount of anomalies in that election, and they were brought out. But I think the Election Commission probably received about 50 letters from APNU, but the answer was, if you have a problem, take it to the court. We're not a tribunal, we're not a law court, but the fact is that these matters were thrashed out in the appeal court, and the appeal court made the decision about the validity of the votes. Now, this is the question. If it is discovered that the votes were invalid, and this matter went all the way up to the Court of Appeal, how could they be accepted? And it is because of the intervention of the CCJ that the commission decided to accept the ruling of the CCJ, which actually reversed the ruling of the Court of Appeal. So that even though these anomalies existed and the Guyana Election Commission in 2020 was aware of these anomalies and abuses, it was overruled by a court which did not know what was happening on the ground in Guyana. That is the long and short of the story. The CCJ just did not know what was happening in the case of the practice in Guyana. That is why the Court of Appeal, in my view, still, the Guyana Court of Appeal was the correct forum to decide on the validity of the votes. So we had a situation in which the credibility of the election process was damaged, and the validity of the votes, could not be established by a court outside of Guyana. And that is my answer to your question, that essentially the effect was allowed to prevail because it was being driven by a political party, that is to say the People's Progressive Party, which got human beings to behave in a very human way. That is to give support to the party of their choice. And the battle was not fought in the polling stations or in the streets. It was fought by people in the election commission. That is what happened, and the legitimate voice of the people, I think, was simply shut out, stopped, silenced by administrative action and by court action. That was the danger. It prevailed because since 1992, this was the PPP practice. This was the PPP modus operandi, to work inside to pervert the course of the elections. That's what the PPP was up to. The PPP is really the fraudulent party in the elections commission, in the elections in Guyana since 1992.
Thank you, President Granger, for that reminder that the PPP is the fraudulent party involved in the rigging of elections. We saw what happened in the 2006 elections, where they not attempted to steal a seat from the AFC. They actually took the seat, took it to court, and the judge seemed to think that nothing was wrong with that. Okay, we'll find some technicality to give it to the PPP. But oftentimes the PPP love to brand other political parties as riggers and all these things without any evidence. But in the 2020 elections especially, we saw lots and lots of evidence of the rigging, the sort of disease, the Gocool disease, the effect. And I'm glad that this is coming out now in public. Our final question for tonight, sir, is how did the Gocool effect affect public perceptions of previous elections? And this is a good question, because people have lost, for the most part, confidence in the Guyana Elections Commission as a result of this Gocool disease, the Gocool effect. And so again, I repeat the question: how did the Gocool effect affect public's perception, of previous elections?
Well, you answered the question yourself, Mark, because I think there has been a loss of confidence in the commission, the loss of confidence in the process, because many people have come to the conclusion that whatever they do, whatever they say, will not have an impact on the outcome. If at a polling station or if in a district, you know that that ballots are being cast for persons who are dead, and still you see sometimes even in the 2020 elections, the GRE 2020, more votes were cast at the polling station than there were people on the list. And if you have an election commission which is not prepared to stop the process, or which is not prepared to remove those anomalies, how can you have confidence in it? If there's proof that, for example, on one polling station, 300 people voted, when of course the list says only 215 people are there, well, examine it and remove the invalid votes. But what has happened in 2020, that the move by the chief election officer at the time to invalidate votes was actually resisted. And when it went to the court, the Guyana Court of Appeal ruled that only valid votes count. And what has happened is that invalid votes have now come into the mainstream and have resulted in the outcome in 2020. What has happened is that the question of validity has just been cast aside. And we had a ruling from the CCJ, which I think prevented the question of validity, which is central. I mean, it's like going to the supermarket with counterfeit notes. And supermarket saying, look, I can't accept that. It's invalid. It's counterfeit. It's fake. It's fraudulent. And this is the situation that's happened. I think a lot of Guyanese voters, have lost faith in the credibility of the process and the integrity of the commission to prevent that Gocool effect from actually, preventing their votes from counting. And I think that has been a very sad legacy of the whole Gocool effect, and it's a sad legacy of 2020. That many people are disappointed that the results included invalid votes, and a lot of blame has been cast on the process for lasting so long. But the process has shown that there were lots of anomalies, there were lots of of abuses and lots of irregularities. And really, I think there should have been enough evidence to reverse the whole process or to stop it and maybe just have fresh elections. But certainly what happened in this, over the years requires a separate investigation into every election from 1992 under the PPP to show the influence of the PPP and influence of that Gocool effect on the outcomes of the elections. But it's a sad testimony to what Guyanese have done to democracy. And the people who are really to blame are in Freedom House in the PPP.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much. The people who are to be blamed for these elections are actually right there at Freedom House today. And those are the same people who love to point fingers at others, but the evidence is quite clear. Lots and lots of evidence. 1997 elections vitiated. Then the 2001 elections questionable. The 2006 elections questionable. And not only questionable, they stole a seat from the AFC and gave it to Sam Hines, who squatted in that seat for the entire 5 years. The Gocool effect. The Gocool effect. I read somewhere when I think Mr. Hines was asked about a particular chairman of the elections CEO, Chief Elections Officer, who happens to be kind of like a problematic individual there. Sam Hines said, no. He said, no. So in my opinion, Sam Hines probably knew what was going on there all along. Maybe if we have a commission of inquiry one day, we'll have guys like Sam Hines to talk about it. We'll ask former chairman of the Elections Commission, Mr. Joe Singh, to ask what transpired when he was there first, and then he ran. He walked away. He said, no. He doesn't. To me, he smelled a rat. Something he knew that was going on there. But we can't ask Dunnath Singh. He's no longer with us. But we can still ask Dr. Steve Surge Valley. Maybe, who knows, one of these days, the current chairman of the Elections Commission can talk to us, tell us something. But for now, we'll just regional elections. People's Progressive Party entered office in 1992, and it has been plagued with or by problems in the field and in the Elections Commission. In the field means outside. They're walking around, they're collecting names and all manner of things. And in the commission, it is something that is so dangerous, this disease, this Gocool disease. It's dangerous right now at the Guyana Elections Commission. We saw what happened in 2006 with that one seat. We saw what happened in 2011 when they attempted to give Mr. Donald Ramotar a majority. And someone stepped in, one of the commissioners said, no, something is wrong. And then the then chairman of the Elections Commission came out and said, it was a, do you recall that? It was what sort of error? The human error. After getting caught, it was a human error. But 2006, it wasn't a human error, right? In 1992, it wasn't a human error or whatever. In 2020, we know that it wasn't just human errors, but it was lots and lots of errors. That explains why they're in office today. Okay, thank you so much. Man, there's so much I want to talk about this Gocool effect. So much I want to talk about it, and the rigging of elections on the part of the PPP. It's called doggeries on the part of the PPP. But we'll leave it at this program, Anansi Web Education. Mr. Granger, thank you so much for walking us through that Gocool effect, the disease. And earlier I mentioned this song. I don't know if you know the singer, but it was a song that was very, very attractive back when we were little boys. Manja licked them with diseases. And so Manja licked them with diseases. The people are walking away from tonight's program with the Gocool disease at GCOM. It is dangerous. Dangerous. We've got to keep an eye on that. It has to be dealt with. I'm so passionate. I want to talk more, but I'm looking at the time. This Gocool disease, Gocool effect. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, other folks will be happy and glad enough to run into you at the supermarket doing your shopping. And notice all you get probably in this cornmeal or not cornmeal, porridge.
No, I was buying greens actually.
You're buying grains.
On the wrong aisle here.
Wrong. The young lady is very, very happy to run into her favorite president. Thank you so much, Mr. Granger, and I appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next week, right here on Anansi Web Education. And to all of our listeners, wherever you are, listeners, viewers, wherever you are, thank you so much, and we appreciate it. Please
Thanks
convey our
you and your
convey
viewers.
our regards to the First Lady, who was very, very busy when she was First Lady. Oh, how we miss those days. We're hardly seeing, anyways. We're hardly seeing much activities from the current, but we're not here to talk about that.
Wishing you a happy birthday. So I hope your viewers know that you are a year
Getting
old.
up here. I'm getting up there.
Yes. Take your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Green. Appreciate your time. God bless.
Good night. God bless.
And to all of our listeners as well, thank you all so much. We will be back same place, same time next week. God bless you.